Hi everyone. This week I was not feeling very well, so I didn't do my regular live. So here is a pre-recorded video for you. And I did want to show you, I had a fun, happy accident as I was creating this week. So I thought I would share the technique with you. So this is the card that I posted this week on my social media. This card has kind of a fun color lifting technique that I happened on accident. So I'm just going to share with you how I did it, and we'll just get started. So I'm going to start with a piece of Aqua pigment paper. This is Brutus Monroe's watercolor paper. It's my favorite watercolor paper ever. I highly recommend it. So we're going to just take that and we're going to use some Chroma mist spray. Chroma mist is just a really versatile product. You'll see me use it a lot. Sometimes I paint with it. Sometimes I just spray it directly. Sometimes I water it down, but we're just going to spray it in this case. So I'm going to use Candy Apple Red, Tangerine Orange, and Bumblebee Yellow. Sorry, I didn't realize I was so far off the camera when I made this, but I think you'll be able to see everything that you need to see. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little water bottle and just spray my aqua pigment paper and just kind of get the whole thing kind of wet. I don't want it sopping wet, but I want it definitely somewhat wet because we don't want really spray marks. We just are just going to give it, like I don't want the spots. To start to make it possible for the color to move along the paper, we're going to go ahead and spray that water. Okay, so I've got my water sprayed on there and we're gonna spritz a little bit of this Bumblebee Yellow. And I'm gonna add even more water after I've got that on there, just to loosen that color up even more. And this process is just going to be repeated over and over. So you can see right now there's a lot of spotting, which is just fine. Sometimes that's the look you're going for, but for this particular card, I just want that color to be smooth and running all over. I don't know if smooth is exactly accurate, but okay, you can see how it smooths out a little bit. And you can see that after every spray, I'm spraying the water. So right now I'm just letting that color run down my paper. And I just keep propping my paper up against the side of this spray bucket. I always call it the ugly bucket. Okay, so just dabbing the sides a little bit, and then I'm looking at it, I'm thinking that it needs a little bit more of the red tones. But I'm trying not to oversaturate my paper too much. But this paper can take a lot of liquid. Okay, adding some more of our orange, we'll add a little bit more of the red as well. And I'm adding more water again so that that color can move. And see how it's just kind of streaking? I just want to let it do its thing. And again, this process just kind of gets, you just do it kind of till you like it. So now that I've got the color closer to what I want, I'm going to kind of go in and with my heat tool and dry it up a little bit. Speed up the process a little bit. But you can see all those fun streaks. Okay, so now it's mostly dry. It has just a little bit, maybe a little bit of moisture in it, but it's mostly dry. So then I'm going to use my Stamp and Stick mat. New product from Brutus Monroe. It is amazing. So this mat is sticky. It's kind of like the mat that you might use for a die cutting, electronic die cutting machine. So that's about the stickiness on it. It fits perfectly in my Misty. I love it. So I'm just going to use the little grid and stick my paper to it, which is also, I find, really awesome when you are using something that's a little bit damp and you want it to dry nice and flat. I think this is a really great way to do that. I didn't put it on while it was really wet, just a little bit wet, which is when it starts to curl anyway, most of the time for me. And I was just showing that if you want to put I use the backside of my Misty sometimes to just help it dry flat that much more. Okay, so now that I've got that done, I'm just going to place my stencil on. And because this mat is sticky, it's just easy placement. You can add a little bit of, most of the time you don't need to add anything with your stencil. But if you are worried about keeping your product really tight within the pattern of your stencil, if that makes sense, you don't want anything to seep underneath it, then you may still want to add a little bit of spray, but this really eliminates the need for it. It's kind of a preference thing, but really, because the mat is sticky, it was created to eliminate any need for magnets or tape or anything like that. Now that I finally have my panel where I want it, this is the part that was the happy accident. So when I was creating the card, I thought, oh, it's kind of a Valentine card. It might be kind of fun to use this glitter gel that the glitter glaze, that has red hearts in it, which is a really cute, really fun glitter glaze that Brutus Monroe offers. So I tried that out first, but I didn't get a really even pattern when I did it. This is me recreating, so you're not seeing exactly what happened the first time I did it. And I actually replaced my my stencil after the fact to try to add another coat. And that's when I figured out that I had discovered a new way to use my glitter gel. So you can see I'm just spreading it out. Now, if you do want to keep this glitter gel on there, one thing that is good to know is when you're using like the hearts, just you want enough of the clear stuff so that the hearts are gonna stick to your paper. Enough of the gel itself, if that makes sense. So I'm going to leave that glitter gel on there just for a little bit. Okay, so I'm just using a stencil pal to just kind of scrape all of the product off, because I had just kind of changed my mind and I don't want to waste all of that. Okay, so there's the reveal, but I wasn't really loving it. I didn't have it as evenly dispersed on there as I wanted. So I'm just going to, I went, oh, maybe not. So then I decided to scrape it off. And now that I'm scraping this nitty gritty stuff off, it's going to pull some of my ink. See how it's lifting that color? And I'm not putting this gel back in the jar like I did before, because now I'm pushing down and I'm getting color. So I didn't want to put that back in my jar. And I actually didn't mind that there was some glitter left behind. It kind of added some texture that I liked for this card. And I'm thinking you could just use some kind of a gel if you wanted, but this is what I used. So that's why I'm showing you my happy accident. And then I'll show you the rest of what I did to create the background for my card. So you can see you've got your rays are completely showing now. So when you are using anything like a gel, a glitter glaze, or any kind of a product such as that, or a chroma glaze on your mat, you definitely want to clean it immediately. You want to clean it off your stencil and your spatula and all of that. So there was a slight break there while I did that. All right, so I just went over it a little bit with my heat tool just to get a little bit more of the moisture that I added when I put the glitter glaze on. I just wanted to make sure that my panel was a little bit drier before I put it back on my stick and stamp mat. I think I've been calling it stamp and stick, so apparently I need to work on that. Okay, so we're just gonna use our guide again to put that on there. And we are going to put our stencil right back over the top again. So we're gonna line that up. Now, you can kind of set it a little bit more askew if you want. If you want to add kind of a highlight and a shadow together, or you can just try to place it exactly the same. Either way, you're probably gonna not be exactly perfect, and that's okay. That's one of the great things about this technique is it's really loose and fun. Okay, so I'm using my little blender from Ranger, and I'm using my Raven ink, my Burtis Monroe Raven ink. And I wanted to use this little blender so that I could get in close first. I'm just going over where the rays begin and adding a little bit of my Raven ink. Okay, so now I'm going to take a blending brush and just kind of brush that raven out so that it's a little less severe and a little more blended out towards the outer part of the rays, if that makes sense. Now on my original card, I did trim down my panel a little bit, but because I'm just showing you the technique on this, I didn't trim it down. So I'm just going to show you, that just depends on how you want to mat your card, if you want to mat your card, all of that. But for this, since we're just showing the technique, it didn't seem to matter. So I'm just going to go around the edges with my blending brush. And you can kind of just decide how dark you want to go. And there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can just do it how I'm doing it, holding it in your hand. But I actually, as I was going along, I decided I kind of preferred laying it flat because I could get a little bit more even, inking. I don't want it to be too even, if that makes sense. You kind of want to make it look aged, and everything doesn't necessarily age evenly. I also felt like it was faster to do it laying it flat. I tend to do the corners a little bit darker than the rest of it just because I feel like that's where when you see age on things, then that's where you really get more of that. So I'll come up a little bit higher with the ink. All right, so you can see how we went about doing that. Now I am going to show you on my original card, I had used a lot more of, it got wetter. I don't know. So I actually used foam, craft foam, and attached the panel to that so that it would have more stability and none of that curling that you get. This other one that I made today, it doesn't seem like it has near as much curling, so I don't know that you'd need to do that. But if you do find that you've got a panel that's curly, that's a good way to fix that. Okay, well now you know how I had my happy accident, and I think it was a lot of fun. I'm sure I'm going to use this technique again, just now that I know. Thanks for watching. I know it was a little bit different. I haven't done a pre-recorded video in such a long time. It was kind of a fun switch. Thank you for watching, and I will be live again next week.